Meeting to order. There we go. I see it across the top. Called to order for the City of Ojai Historic Preservation Commission. Cheryl, will you call the roll, please?
Chair Eakins?
Here.
Commissioner Convery?
Here.
Commissioner James?
Here.
Commissioner McCatton?
Here.
Commissioner Prebor?
Here.
Okay. So if you will stand with me and we'll get the Pledge of Allegiance on the screen and follow me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
For all.
There we go. Okay, public communications. Public communications submitted by email will be provided to the Historic Preservation Commission at this time. Matters raised at this time may be briefly discussed by the commission and will generally be referred to staff and are placed on a subsequent agenda. Under state law, other than for emergency items, no action can be taken at this meeting. Just a couple of things before we start updates. As of Tuesday night at the Libby Bowl, we were consent item number H. The final two commissioners, Commissioner James and myself, were agreed to serve on the commission, so we now have as said, we now have a full commission and ready to proceed. The elections that will take place with a full commission won't take place until our next meeting. Museum representative report. The museum is currently in between exhibits. The new exhibit coming up is Ojai Studio Artists called Finding Light, and it will open a week from tomorrow. They're currently hanging the art. We'd also like to thank the museum for their booth at the Centennial program that was a week ago, and for the people who submitted the photos to the museum that were strung there in front of the offices for their commission. There were both family photos and historical photos. So we're very grateful to them and grateful to the museum for printing those and stringing those up. Consent item. The minutes, consent item number 1, minutes of the June 10th, 2021 meeting. Do any of the commissioners have any changes on that?
Nope, I'm good.
No.
No.
No changes.
No changes. Do we have a motion to approve then?
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Seconded by Valerie. Okay. Do we need a roll call on that?
Yes, because we are remote, we'll take a roll call.
Okay. If you could call the roll, please.
Okay, Eakins?
Yes.
Convery?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McCatton?
Yes.
And Prebor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. The minutes are approved. I'll sign the form that Cheryl has up for me. So now we'll move to item number 2. Annual Historic Preservation Award. Normally we would have done this in probably starting in June. So we're a little bit behind, but we'll kick it off tonight. So you see in your packet not only the information as a guideline for suggesting an annual Historic Preservation Award and or also a Lifetime Achievement Award. So we have both of those where we can make recommendations. The point tonight is to brainstorm some ideas, get suggestions, and then assign that information for those individuals, and then bring it to the next meeting, and at that time take action. Is that correct, Lucas?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and not only that, but in addition, attachment B is identifying past year's awardees, either for lifetime achievement and under specific criteria as well for those specific individuals that have been nominated and then received the award.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. I went through and I highlighted the 7 Lifetime Achievement Awards that have been given out. And also then I went back and looked at the annual awards, and they had all received, or went back and looked at, did a comparison of lifetime recipients versus whether they had received an annual award, and they all had. So interesting to see that, just for information purposes. So at this time, I'd like to get names that people have for doing a Historic Preservation Award. I'd like to start with annual, if we could, please. So commissioners, ideas?
I have a couple names, Brian.
Please, Commissioner Combry.
Well, they're kind of unusual, but I think they're meaningful because, before I tell you their names, I want to put this out there. You know, it's not just restoring a building. It's about supporting the community in a historic way, if that makes any kind of description. You know, it's about fighting for the downtown core and keeping Ojai intact as we know it and preserved in that way. So, which made me think of these 3 people who have really done this for years and years in an unusual way. The first name I have is Claire Hill, Terry's wife, because she's been an invaluable support to Terry and to me in all of our historic endeavors. Like, she's provided materials. She's always been available. She has an incredible wealth of knowledge. And even though she hasn't served on the commission, you know, her support made it so that Terry could be there for all the years he was there. So that's Claire Hill. You know, I just think it's so meaningful that her kind of behind the scenes devotion was really important for that. The second name I have is Alan Raines, because Alan has kept Raines intact since it opened. I think it was 1906, you know, through the Raines family. And he hasn't been swayed by commercialism or the next big thing or how to make more money. His son, Jeff, is now, you know, running the show just with the same approach and the same steadiness that Raines has always had. So I felt like Alan really has defined a commercial property on Ojai Avenue that gives the character to the town. And it's such a unique place. And my third name, for a similar reason to Alan, is Barbara Bowman, because Barbara has fought against the franchise ordinance for years, and she's very knowledgeable about what keeps our downtown core, the character of our downtown core intact as far as historic Ojai. So, you know, that's just a suggestion. I felt like she's really devoted a lot of time to that. So those are my 3 suggestions.
Great. Thank you, Cindy.
So I have a question. Those are 3, well, I guess Raines is connected to the shop, but, you know, basically 3 people. So could it also be projects, or is there a category where it's more honoring the person who does the work, or, you know, a construction or reconstruction project that's happened in the last year?
So Jenny, it can be an individual. It can be a project that they focused on. One of the projects was actually the secondhand bookstore that's next to the library. That was essentially a project, a group of individuals that came forward to put that together. And it could be an organization that's in the city of Ojai.
Okay.
Or an organization that has benefited the city of Ojai. And if you go to attachment A, you'll see there's a list of the 7 different things that we try to consider. And so when we nominate an individual, or when we go between now and the next meeting and we're writing up information for the different people that we're putting forth, then in that recommendation, we would want to cite which of the 7, could be 1, could be all, that go to support that nomination. So very good question. Thank you.
Well, I was, I was kind of thinking of the rebuild of OVS Upper after the fire, it's not technically in the city, and it's not an historic building. But I just wanted to mention it as, the effort that they made to rebuild that school in, 2 years. And, 3 years, I guess it's been 3 years since the fire, that was badly, devastated in the fire. And that launches next week.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
I mean, there was some preservation of the original building, and then replacing, the buildings that had been destroyed.
okay. So we'll put it forward, and sorry, I'm just a little distracted because as of 5:05, I got a text from my son, and I'm trying to figure out, or a phone call, trying to wait for a text to come through and make sure everything's okay. So thank you, Jenny. Other commissioners?
I'm looking at our list of recipients, and I see in 2015, Elise received a award for the yearly award, but I don't see that she's received a lifetime yet. And if there's anyone as deserving as Elise, I can't think of anybody, because just from 2015 to 2021, where I've really paid attention to the HPC, the work that she's done both as a commissioner and even now that she's moved, she has been so helpful to our ad hoc for the downtown corridor. Anything we ask of her, she is so thorough with her research and so devoted. She's an author of Ojai history books. She's an author of several books on Ojai, our art fountains. She did a first book, I think, was on. She's just a fantastic resource for us, and she continues to be. So I'd like to put her forward for a lifetime achievement.
Great. Thank you, Gina. Let's see. Yes, Commissioner James. Sorry.
I think, are we already tried to nominate the owner of the Ojai Theater and he's not interested, or?
Ojai. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what.
The owner of the Ojai Theater, and I'm sorry, I forgot his name. I've known it for years, but I just forgot it right now.
You mean the
Which
previous
theater?
owner?
Oh, so they sold it? Yeah, the previous owner is what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Previous
play?
owner has been nominated. He's gotten the award. He asked for no more awards. Khaled.
I don't see his name in here, so.
Is that who you're talking about as Khaled?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Khaled, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Yes, we did nominate Khaled before. I actually went and talked to him in his gallery, which was in the arcade at that time, and he said he
Yeah.
very much appreciated our recognition of him, but he had received many awards, and he would rather the awards be shared with others who are deserving.
Okay, well, then in that case, I kind of agree with Alan Raines, because he's been around for so long, and, he's getting older now, and he has really maintained that store in a very good historical way, the way Cindy described it. So I would be interested in him as well.
Okay.
So the other category that you have that I think is interesting is construction of new buildings in historic districts that contribute to the character and design of their surroundings. So what would be an example of that?
I was kind of wondering the same thing when I read that. Do you have any ideas?
I mean, in a way,
Lucas?
that the rebuild of OVS Upper kind of would fall into that category if it fell into any. But I'm just curious of what are some other things that we've picked that fall into that category, like an actual structure, not a person. Because it looks like the list is all people.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Well, the Rotary Club isn't a person. The Taormina community isn't a person. And I think Craig Walker of Twice Sold Tales is probably the perfect example. It was a do of a building. But an example, Benny, of a construction, actually there hasn't been a new building built in a historic district. It's not in the downtown core. Has there been a new building? Not in Ojai. You know, a designated historic district has not had a new building.
So that would only be right downtown.
Well, that
It would be in a historic district, and the only historic district is the Terramino.
yeah,
Correct.
as historic district, Terramina hasn't had a new building that's been nominated. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
OBS is really
Yeah.
a historic district.
There is one house in Terramina that was built by an architect at Tenpenny Construction, and it is the most authentic French Norman house, I think, in the neighborhood. It's very, very well done.
It was built from the ground up, Valerie, or restored?
You could, I could guess you could say restored, but he put all the elements of French Norman architecture into the house.
Construction of the new building is ground up.
Okay, then that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work.
So we haven't had that in a historic district. I don't know when OVS upper was built. It was like the 60s, right? And it's not a designated.
Yeah, I mean, no, it was never designated historic, and I don't think it's an historic building, but
Well, so a couple things on the school. It's in the county, so we wouldn't have ever designated it as historic.
right.
True.
The other thing on your question is if you go to attachment B, page 3 of 5, and you look at 2009, you'll see that Rotary Community Park, which actually is a from the ground up, I believe, since it was 40 years ago, it was a lumber company that was there. So I don't know if that kind of goes with what you're thinking, Commissioner Prebor. Again, the Rotary Community Park.
And then below on 2003, it mentions the library foundation. I don't know if that includes renovation of that building.
Yeah, there's no notes next to it, so I don't know.
No, okay.
Okay. Okay, so ideas. So I guess my turn. In talking to Mark Lewis,
Yeah, I was going to nominate him too.
and talking to Craig Walker, he suggested, and since he's always very helpful to us on Ojai Day, and was very helpful in the Centennial exhibit celebration that took place last Thursday at Rotary Park. So Craig suggested the name of Waynebauer, since he is, any event that takes place, we all reach out to him and ask, hey, can you help us out? I know the museum uses his different vehicles as a parade entry.
Hey,
And-
Brian, does he have the police car?
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, he's the one with the
He
police
has
car.
the police car that Darwin's in love with, the one that's at the jail all the
Yeah,
time?
yes. And while I had him in front of me at the Centennial, I said, oh, and by the way, Ojai Day is coming up. Are we going to be able to borrow your Ojai police car? And he said, of course, as he always does.
Okay.
So I agree with Craig's recommendation on Dwayne Bauer as someone that we should consider. I mean, we did an oral history interview with him. It was almost like any car the Bauers had ever had, including from his father down, they still own. And, that he recreated the Sadie Sewell buggy. That was at one of our Ojai Day events. Again, another place he prominently displays the historic vehicles that he has. For a Lifetime Achievement Award, the person that came to mind, and I know her name has been mentioned before, is Cricket Twitchell. I think that she was involved in the Downtown Historic Tour, walking tour. If not involved in it from the inception, she has been involved in giving that tour for many years. It's currently, as it always is, on hiatus during the summer months because only the Ojai people can enjoy walking around in 99-degree weather as it was coming out today. So those would be my name's Dwayne Bauer, and Cricket Twitchell. I think I would be more of a, the question is, Waynebauer, is it the annual one? Of course, he's, worthy of an annual. Is it the lifetime achievement? So, any other names that we should consider that we can do write-ups and bring to the next meeting?
Well, can we bring something or mention something to you after this meeting if we think of some other people other than the list that we've created?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just kind of an early brainstorming session. And then we will make the decision. We would plan to make the decision at the next meeting.
Okay, so just another question. So on number 3, interpretation of historic projects, what's that? What's an example of that? Is that like a house renovation? Or what is that?
The thing that comes to mind to me on that, and was involved in other items, was a couple of years ago we recognized. Let's see, I'm looking at in 2018 where we recognized Don Teading. Don Teading was very much involved in the protection of archaeological sites. She, with Julie Tumamite, Pat Tumamite, and other people, worked on the cultural resources part of the city municipal code. So to me, that was helping on the interpretation of historic projects, historic being archaeological type projects. That's just what comes to mind. Yes,
So
Commissioner McCann.
So when you cut, Jenny, if you do think of somebody, we're going to come to the next meeting with a little write-up about them. So so you will, you'll be on the same page. Come with like a little bio about the person.
Okay.
So we'll be able to know about them.
Okay, great.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner McCann. Okay, so Lucas, does it seem like we have that covered to next meeting?
I think so. I think we're in pretty good shape. There's a lot of really good representation here.
Yeah. Yeah, great names. Okay, so we will move on to item number 3. Item number 3, discussion item, and let me just check with Cheryl that I didn't miss any public comments that have come in or emails that have come in from the public on any of these items.
Yes, there were no emails and no public comments.
Okay, thank you.
Is anybody in the waiting room? Okay.
Good call. Okay, item number 3. Lucas, can you give us a staff report on this, please?
Yeah, sure. So, for a majority of the commissioners that are here virtually and in person, we were set to meet with the City Council in 2020. I want to say it was early March of 2020. However, there was something called the pandemic that hit almost identical, actually the same day as when we were supposed to have the meeting. So it got pushed. But typically these meetings are an opportunity for the commission to meet, have a conversation, dialogue with getting feedback.
Yeah, there's 2 Cindy's logged in.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay,
Oh.
perfect.
Cindy left.
And Cindy left again.
Are you still there? It was good. The sound got a little strange.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're set.
Oh, okay,
I can see all 4 other commissioners there.
So can I
She's.
think when we did the presentation on the downtown historic district, we decided, I think we had support of the commissioners that we wanted to go forward with that being our focus with the joint commission, that we felt that the Boyd Center, we kind of had a
Commissioner
verbal-
McCatton, can I
Yes.
call a pause just a second? I just
Sure.
wanted to make sure Lucas was in the middle of a
Lucas?
staff report.
I was.
when
I
we
mean,
interrupted
I
him.
was, but what I
that-
was getting at is what I think Commissioner McCatton. So she is certainly super excited to. She's been working on this project as well as Chair Akins. regarding the downtown historic district. That's one of the items that's being identified on here. This list that you're seeing here is the list that was generated in 2020. So it's the same list. We're just dusting off this list. If there are items that, in terms of conversations with the full commission that want to be further explored, or there's an interest in these specific items moving forward, then I'd say let's have that conversation tonight, and then we'll come back with a report that goes to council as a part of that joint meeting in September. So there,
There. Sorry about that. I think when
Great.
the sound went a little wonky, I thought you were done. So I'm sorry.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner McCatton, please.
Okay, so when we did our presentation, Craig and Brian and I, a few months ago, we had talked about getting in front of council as soon as we could, so we could discuss the downtown historic district, so it can coincide with the centennial, which started last week and will run this whole year. And to be able to do it in a timely fashion, that kind of needs to be our focus, because we need council to understand what we're thinking of, how we plan on doing it, very frugally and quickly. And that I really think that I thought we had talked about. I don't know. I think Cindy, you weren't there yet, and Ginny, you weren't on here yet, so we might need to discuss it again. But that, I think, was the decision that we were going to try to be very single-minded and get in front of council and get this rolling with them, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I have a big number one right to the left of that. These other things were just items that were carried over from before. And so,
Right.
So that, maybe someone's interested in the Boyd Center or the Ojai Library, they don't think we just dropped them and ignored them from previously. So they were included on the agenda, but I completely agree with what you said, Commissioner McCatton. Other thoughts from the other commissioners on the making the downtown historic district the main topic of discussion with the city council joint meeting?
I agree with her.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I agree. I mean, I think it's timely with a lot of the changes in ownership of the downtown buildings that's happened over the last year. I mean, Haled sold all of his buildings, and other buildings being sold. I understand that the Emporium was sold to Help of Ojai, and Azu was sold. I mean, it might be a good time to discuss that, because we have quite a few new owners of structures.
Cindy, you're muted.
Yeah, Cindy? Oh,
Sorry, I don't know what the audio.
And now she's frozen.
I don't know what you want to call it, a pamphlet or something about historic Ojai buildings, the downtown core, and what it means for new building owners when they buy into.
I've been there before. So I
Well,
do-
Brian, that what she just said is a good point.
the idea of having a pamphlet that is readily available.
It's just, there's so many new owners of these old structures, and wondering if they, I mean, I'm sure that they have some idea of what they've bought into, but just having some kind of guidelines and understanding. Or
Yeah, I was thinking about that as for tenants as well. Like the Kids of the Canyon, their sign went up, but it didn't come before the HPC. Now, I think the sign looks great, but historically, it's supposed to come before the HPC, so we could make sure that they stay in uniform. There was another new tenant that painted the outside of their building a color without going through the HPC. So if they just knew kind of what they had to do and what they were getting into, I think that is not really that much, but it's a lot more of a hassle to do it after the fact if they just know going in, both for tenants and for
So
for landowners.
one of the things with Kids of the Canyon, and I'm using that same person for my shop, is he does go to the city and thinks that he's doing what he needs to do.
Right.
So
but
he is getting some kind of permit. Someone's giving him some kind of permit, and he's paying fees to the city.
Are you talking about painting, outside painting?
I'm talking about there's a new
she's talking
sign.
about the arcade signs, and Kate got a sign, and I decided to use that same vendor. And in his proposal, he handles all of the city paperwork and fees. And so in their mind, the vendor and the merchant, they think that they have done what they needed to do for the city. So I'm wondering how they paid a fee.
Jenny, is her sign in the window? But is her sign in the window, or is it hanging in the
It's
arcade?
hanging.
It's
hanging.
hanging in the arcade.
Because it didn't come in front of us, did it?
Well, hold on.
Did
For the
that sign
purposes of
come
what
in
we're hold on. I'm going to stop
Okay,
everybody
time
right
out.
there. For the purposes of what we're talking about here, that is not on the agenda for discussion. I want us to continue
get
to
it on the
focus on
agenda.
items for
Well,
the future. I mean, that is certainly something that staff is working on, but I don't want, that's not an item that's on this agenda tonight. So let's
Right.
just stay
What we're
focused
just
on the
talking
items that
about
we're going
is
to be
it would
talking
be-
about for joint committee, joint
Yeah,
commission
but
council.
so
Well,
my
she's mentioning it. They're mentioning it for one of the things that we bring up with city council about guidelines being a merchant in the historic
Yeah.
district.
I
So I
get
think
that.
it's
I get that.
relevant
But
on
we're
that point,
focusing
but,
on specific businesses. I want to stay away from that.
Okay.
right. Good. I'm sorry.
So we're aware of that, and Lucas is working on it. And if you do see something like that, please report it. But, okay, so the city council, I mean, great suggestions on getting information out, because we do have, appear to have so many new people, new businesses that have come in to that. So,
Well,
yes, Gina, please.
I think that I wasn't trying to start a fire. I was actually wanting to preemptively put fires out, and just I think that the HPC, especially going into a downtown historic district desire to have this accomplished, we need buy-in from merchants and the landowners. And I think that just not feeling like they're always in trouble or doing something wrong, if they just somehow knew ahead of time, then we don't look like the bad guys. Because, I mean, the sign looks great, or any other sign or any other building that happened to come in and do something. Chances are, our guidelines are pretty straightforward. And I'd rather be supportive of local businesses, especially right now during a pandemic. Opening up a business or keeping a business going, it is very important to everyone in this community. So I don't want the HPC to come off as the bad guy. So I think that clear guidelines, so everybody just knows what's the order of operation. That's all.
Gina, could you just take a couple minutes and also speak to one of the goals in putting in the ad hoc committee for the downtown historic district was to keep it as straightforward and as simple and with less burden where possible, and negligible expense. And that'll be part of the
Exactly.
message that's conveyed to the city council. Share with that.
I think that we had Lucas at our last ad hoc, and it was very helpful to have somebody from, well, not that far outside, but outside of our brains, because we're very cerebral with how we're approaching this, and we just have this. We start to get so in our heads that we start to think everyone knows what we're talking about. And he made the point of, maybe they don't. Maybe you need to enlighten everybody a little bit. So we started really trying to explain what each type of property meant, and putting together a presentation. Craig did an amazing job with Elise, going through every single property and writing down the criterion of the contributing properties and what it means to be contributing. And I'm doing if you take that information, if you go back to like college and you start out with this big information, you get down to a flashcard. So that's my job, is taking that information so it's there for everybody who wants to read it, but then making flashcard versions of a like PowerPoint where we can show council simply what we plan on doing and how we don't want to. There's so many overlays already. There's so many things that are going on with these properties that are in the downtown area that we were talking with Lucas about. Well, are we adding anything? You know, I don't think we are adding much. If anything, just keeping. So we want to make it really simple when we go in front of council to explain how we are keeping this inexpensive, both for the city, but also for people who want to are going to be in our downtown area. So they're not going to be going, oh, great, one more hoop to jump through, one more fee to pay. And that's, we don't see that as how it will be. And hopefully when we have our joint meeting, I'll be making that pitch very clearly.
Great, thank you. Anything else on this? Okay,
So just as a
yes.
summary, what I'm hearing is it seems like the focus for the joint meeting is going to be the downtown historic district, and it just stays at that focus, no other items, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I believe so. And just background,
I
Jenny.
have one question though, Brian.
Yes, Cindy.
Earlier you mentioned the Boyd Center. Is the Boyd Center something we should be talking about now, or I feel like we should focus on one thing, and the priority is the historic core, but I just don't want the Boyd Center to be at risk if we're not addressing it.
So when I get a rec commission advisor that they have a meeting taking place and an agenda, I try to look through that and make sure that nothing's going to take place that's going to affect the Boyd Center in any way. So I think we're still safe putting that off. Again, my focus would be on the downtown historic district.
Okay, thank you.
And Jenny, so you know, we have had, typically we meet with the city council on an annual basis in a joint meeting just before their city council meeting. We meet at 6 o'clock. We pretty much, my experience has been we set the agenda for that and somewhat conduct the meeting. We thought we had received guidance from the city council on the downtown historic district, and then in a city council meeting, there was some comment, not a focused comment, that maybe threw that in question. And so that's why we've been trying to meet again with the city and focusing on that for a few years now. Yes.
So this is not the annual meeting. This is follow up to that issue.
Well, this is the the resumption of the annual combined
Okay.
meeting.
The original annual meeting was more lofty. It was like cost prohibitive is what it ended up being. I think from what we could gather, the idea of it was exciting and important, but the cost was prohibitive. So we went back to the drawing board and tried to figure out a way to do it so it wouldn't be so it could be done much more frugally.
Yes, Commissioner McCanton is exactly correct because that comment came up in a budget meeting. I go to all the budget meetings. Okay. We done? Okay, so, sorry, again, you know, my mind's in a couple other different places. I want to go back to the historic. We need to assign people to generate the brief write-up or the write-up of these individuals. So I'd like to reopen that item. So Cindy, you suggested Claire Hill, Alan Raines, and Barbara Bowman.
Yeah, I'll write Alan and Claire. I mean, Barbara was just a sort of a thought after the fact, but I think we have enough with all the suggestions we have.
Okay, so stick with those two.
Yeah, I'll write up Claire and Alan.
Okay, Gina, did you want to write up Elise?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, great. I will do a write-up on Dwayne and Cricket, if that's okay with everyone.
Yep.
So then we have those Claire Hill, Alan Raines, Elise DePoit, Dwayne Bauer, and Cricket Twitchell as the 5 that we will talk about in our next meeting. And again, as Commissioner Prebor mentioned, if somebody comes to mind between now and our next meeting, please, as Commissioner McCanton suggested, do a brief write-up and bring that to the meeting with you, if you would, please.
And I would
Okay.
I would even add further to say someone or something. I think Commissioner
Yes.
Prebor's point is correct. If there is something, some sort of structure that, or even site that merits warrant, that can be brought forward as well.
Exactly.
So OVS upper doesn't fall into the city category because it's outside of the city.
It's in the county, yeah.
Is that what I'm understanding?
I believe, well,
I mean, it is in the county. I just want to be clear that that's off the list.
so the twist that I might think is, having that campus here, how much of a benefit is it to the residents of the city of Ojai? So I think that would be the thought maybe on, how much, how strong is the tie-in to the residents of Ojai? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I mean, and it's relevant because they had to reduce the number of beds because of the fire. So with this relaunch, it's becoming a more of a day school, much more of a day school than it ever has in the past.
So Commissioner Prebor,
there is some
if you would like
relevance
to
in
write
that,
something
but-
up on that?
Yeah,
would be
and I know that Hall Mounsey was honored before, and this is his last year. This is his
Where was-
last project in his last year
Where was he honored before?
on your list.
Hall Mounsey?
Oh no, I'm sorry. It was the previous one. It was the previous dean of all school before he left was honored.
What was
Michael.
his name? Michael what?
Michael Hermes.
Oh, Mike Hermes. Oh my God, that's a shock.
2006.
So
Yeah.
there is some precedent for naming
Yeah,
a school headmaster.
yeah. He was
Um,
at the lower campus. He was in town, And I think they did a rebuild on the original historic lower campus that year, or 2004 and 5. They re-roofed and redid the front parking lot thing. So that might have been what that was.
Okay.
I'm just scanning it to see if there's any other schools. Just the schools are so prevalent here, all of them. I just was, thinking about that. Okay, so I'll think about it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, moving on to, let's see, where are we at? We did 3. Moving on to item number 4. Ojai Day preparations. Ojai Day is Saturday, October 16th, 2021. Do you have a staff report or information for us, Lucas?
Yeah, so Ojai Day, as you mentioned, is scheduled for October 16th. Unfortunately, last year it didn't get canceled because of the pandemic, obviously. But we're looking forward to I would say, a slightly smaller version. We're not going to be looking to close down Ojai Ave, but focusing it instead on Libby Park. And obviously, with previous commitments and involvement with the Historic Preservation Commission, the jail has been kind of the focus area. What's interesting is with it being really kind of focused within Libby Park for all of the festivities, the jail is just to the south of that within Libby Park as well. And there's going to be, even more an opportunity to get for involvement there. So we're looking forward just confirming that we have everything in order here with, various items being displayed, us getting it open, getting it cleaned up and ready to go.
Okay, great. So volunteers, typically we have commissioners who come and volunteer in the morning and in the afternoon to sit outside, answer questions, watch the kids, scare the kids. Well, the parents are doing a good job scaring their kids going into the jail. So yes, Commissioner McCatton?
Yeah, I see Ginny reading it saying, typically the HPC members typically dress like inmates, and it's like, welcome to the HPC. Yeah, it's quite funny. We did last year when we couldn't do it in person. Brian and I did a little video of it with starring Brian dressed like an inmate, and so it is on the city page and on our page. If you ever want to check it out, it really does show our the jail really nicely and the history of it.
Yes, and there is as Commissioner McHatton said, there is a video floating around. I know it's on the city page, it's on the museum page. I want to thank my wife for coming with me. Seemed like it was 103, taking the video and then turning the rough over to Gina and her husband, who made it enjoyable, at least enjoyable for me to watch. So thank you for that. So again, we have another meeting coming up in September, but just something to put on your calendar and think about if you'll be able to support us by taking shifts during the day.
So, Brian, I think
Yes.
in the past we've just had a sign-up sheet with times on it that people could sign up for a couple hours, right? Can we do that again?
We will.
Seems really simple.
We will.
We can do it by email, right? That's what I did with Darwin.
Yeah, that was done,
we'll ask
virtually.
Cheryl if she'll send out a sign-up sheet and just break it into 2-hour shifts. And
Okay.
people can, of course, take multiple shifts. So, Cheryl, if you could do that, since we can't email each other.
Cheryl, I think the way we did it last time was we staggered it. So we had 2 commissioners, but one would be coming and the other one would be leaving, and then kind of just, I don't know. If you'd like me to, I'm sure we have a past one. I could look it up if you don't have it.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I'd also like to thank former Commissioner Thais Quinn's husband, Bob, for the much nicer gel uniform that he purchased and I wore last year. Okay. Anything else on that, Lucas? Okay. Okay. Item number 5. Downtown Historic District Ad Hoc Committee Progress Report. Gina, can you update us, please? Or what? Hang on just a second. Staff report, please.
It boils down to Commissioner McHatton updating us.
Yeah, I think I did that already. I think what we talked about our focus. Craig and Brian and I are working on finding information that not only talks about the history of the place that that would be part of the downtown historic district area, but what criteria it would fall under if it was part of a contributing property. So that has been the focus that Craig has been doing mostly with Elise's help. I'm working on the presentation. Brian oversees it all and coordinates it all. And we're just working toward our September joint council meeting right now.
Great. Yes, we are. Any questions from the commissioners? I did enjoy your earlier comments, and I'm sure the committee will take those in as a part of our responsibilities. Any other questions from the commissioners?
Nope.
Okay, great. Okay, we will move on to item number 6. Okay, hang on just a second. Just trying to find out what's going on. Okay, City of Ojai Centennial Pennants. I don't know about the rest of you commissioners, but I think I've seen these somewhere.
They're already
So
up, yes.
staff report from Lucas, if you would, please.
Thank you. So the pennant policy that is currently in place has been in place since 2015. That requires really all first-time pennants to be displayed. The Centennial pennant, I'll have to admit I saw that a little bit differently because this isn't necessarily something that we're going to be doing every year. I sent off to the commission prior to us moving forward with spending the money for those pennants, which are currently up, just to make the commission aware of what that design was going to look like, to see if we had any issues. Didn't hear any. As a piece of informational, so that we're making sure we're following and true to the policy as a first-time pennant, I brought forward this item for kind of a receive and file. But if the commission has any questions regarding this pennant and the process, just in general, certainly open to receiving information and having discussion.
Great, thank you, Lucas. Comments by the commissioners? Have you all seen them there in the arcade?
Yeah, they look great.
I will tell you, they looked at the Centennial last week. All of the city employees had the emblem that was picked out in the contest on their nice polo shirts, I think they wore. The only problem, well, two problems. One is it was pretty close to 100, and the other one was the shirts were black. They look very hot, but they look very nice. So I
Yeah, they
thought the
were.
emblem turned out really nice.
It did. It's really great. It was a great resource. I think Commissioner McHatton and I think Commissioner James have questions. They have their
Okay.
hands raised.
So yes, Commissioner McHatton.
My question is just, I know that we usually have a full schedule of pennants going up in the arcade, but since this is going to be a year-long celebration of the centennial, if there are downtimes, can they be put back up?
That is the idea
Good
with these
question.
pennants, is as an ongoing celebration during the downtime that these pennants will be put back up.
Good.
Great.
Thank you.
And Commissioner James?
I'm just looking at the pennant, and it's in a way too bad we don't have the celebration for Ojai Day in the street, because this would be beautiful. Replacing the Indian painting that we put in the intersection. If we had this, that would be really fun.
Are you talking about the mandala?
Yeah, the mandala. If this,
Right.
if we could put that, it would be neat to have that on the street, but I guess it wouldn't work this year.
Not necessarily on the street. I'll have to admit the mandala is actually being located in the same location it was last year. If you remember, it was right
Okay.
around the fountain. That's where the
Yeah,
mandala is going to be going again this year.
Be nice to
However,
have
I
this
mean, we can take
somewhere.
in consideration how we can incorporate that maybe into the mandala and talk to them.
Yeah, that would be really wonderful, because that would be the only time in 100 years that we had anything different, you know?
Why isn't it in the street?
Why isn't it
Because-
in the street? You mean, why aren't we
Yeah.
closing the street down?
Yeah.
Right. So because of so initially there was the possibility of even canceling this year's event, but because of the pandemic and situations as they are currently, we've chosen not to move forward with closing off the street. Instead of doing a slightly smaller, kind of a more intimate version of Ojai Day. I would say kind of a local version, if you will.
So, Lucas, is Ojai Day going to be in Libby Park? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning. Yeah, it is going to be in
Oh,
Libby
I didn't
Park.
hear that.
There's going to be about 25 to 35 vendors is what we're anticipating. If we can get more and fit them into Libby Park, then certainly we'll be doing that as well.
Got it.
So in monitoring, seeing what was going on social media last year when they did put the mandala in the by the fountain, there was actually a lot of people understood why, but people supported the location that it had there. So it was interesting. So
And the last year's was actually very interactive with kids, which was kind of interesting as well.
yeah,
So I'm curious to see what this one's going to be this year.
okay. Okay. Any other questions on the pennants? Okay, so let's go to Centennial pennants. We'll go to future agenda items. You have a page there at the end. Again, mostly talking about preservation awards, Ojai Day. Generally, up until last year, it didn't take place, but generally we have given the awards out the first meeting, city council meeting in December. So we'll see what happens. Last year that didn't take place just because there were so many changes going on with the council and many other things. Other future agenda items that we need to include on this sheet?
Should we review our joint council meeting discussion items too, just so that we're really polished on that?
Does it happen right before the 9th? When is it?
Yeah,
Our
so it's going to be
joint
September
council just-
14th, which
Yeah.
makes it fairly difficult for the 9th, which is the reason for the item being on for tonight for
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, but just between us, since we've already discussed it, I think it would be a good idea to, polish it a little bit before we have our meeting on the 14th.
Well, the
That-
next
that
night,
might
Have
be
it as a
good.
discussion,
I
I
couldn't
mean-
agree with you more, Commissioner Convery. And McHatton, I think Commissioner McHatton, I think that's a good point as well, because really that's just the one item that's going to be the focus.
Yeah, and once again, we do work in our own heads, and it'd be nice to have the rest of the commission to weigh in to make sure we're not missing something or something isn't clear.
Yeah.
It would be really nice to have that input.
Yeah, Gina, do you want to talk later about like just bullet points,
don't-
talking points?
I don't
and
think
clean it
I
up?
can.
With me separately alone?
No, because it'd be daisy chaining the.
Yeah, there's only 5 of us, so she can pretty much only talk to me, Cindy.
Can I talk to you too?
You can't talk
The
to
same thing. It would still be Brown Act.
Nobody can talk to Ryan except Gina.
Well, we can talk, but I have to be
Okay.
real careful when somebody talks to me because, in fact, Commissioner James was reporting that she had just come from 11:05 signal, and I said, "Stop!" She goes, "I'm just reporting I went. I'm not talking about anything else." I said, "Okay, I think that's okay."
Okay.
Yeah,
Lucas, is there any way for Cindy to be able to coordinate something
She
with
could
the
do it.
ad hoc committee?
She could do it through me.
Okay, so Cindy, talk to Lucas if you would, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Sure.
But no, I think that's an excellent item to put there on September 9th. Anything else? Okay. Planning report. That's you.
Sorry. Yes, that's for me. So just, sorry, that is for me. Just two items real quick. I believe I saw some of you at the Centennial last week. Huge success. Lots of individuals that were there. It was a great kind of 100-year celebration to the day. August 5th of 2020 or 1921 was when Ojai was founded. So it was really kind of an interesting, wonderful celebration, even given the situation that we're in currently. So that event just took place. You saw the pennants that are going to be going up and remaining up for the remainder of the year as during downtime. And in addition to that, we've got Ojai Day, which is coming up October 16th. So we're super excited for that, and preparations are certainly underway. That's what I have to report for now. In terms of items for future consideration, there are matters that are currently in the hopper, just not ready for the commission in terms of review and consideration at this point.
Great, thank you. And one other little gem that took place Tuesday night at the Libby Bowl. Discussion item number 2 was the approval of.
1105 North Signal received
Oh,
historic designation. Sorry, that is true. And in addition to that, we have officially 5 butts in seats. So that is a testament for, I would say, over a year of preparation of people leaving and just the whole situation that we've been dealing with. So it's great to see officially 5 commissioners seated.
Yes.
Can there only be 5? I mean, is
Correct.
there a limit to how many people can be on it?
Oh, don't get us started.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is 5.
For now. It's 5 for now.
It was 7. It's 5 now. It was 7.
Right.
It was 7 last
That time-
August. It was changed to 5.
And when it was 7, Cindy was on the ad hoc and could talk to me.
Yeah.
Yes, then we can
Yeah,
talk to
it
more
was
people.
a very interesting political juggernaut.
Are you, are you getting a drift there of Commissioner Prebor on that question?
I'm getting the drift. I'm just
Yeah.
zipping it. I'm accepting it.
No, we're going to fight it.
So,
Yeah, bigger fish to fry right now.
so again, but that was wonderful that 1105 Signal became our newest landmark. Tiffany Rochelle was on the phone. She came in via, I think, Zoom. And so then we'll wait and see whether they're going to file a Mills Act, correct? That hasn't taken place?
Has not taken place, but I spoke with Tiffany, and that's forthcoming. We just
Okay.
sent them. We just sent her the information, so
Okay,
you should
great.
be seeing that in the future.
Okay. Anything else from the commissioners?
Nope.
Nope. Well, thank you all. Again, this is, I think, the last time we actually had this many commissioners fully legit was an interesting meeting in November 2019. The one where I was
Wow.
racing home from Atlanta because we didn't know what Zoom was at that time. So
Nope. Yeah.
it's nice to have all of us here in our full term. So thank you all for being here tonight. And
Yeah.
with that,
Brian.
I'm sorry.
Brian, let us know when the baby's born, please.
yeah, I sure will.
you.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Good
Okay.
luck.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.